If you're expecting a bunch of guru fluff and get-rich-quick garbage, you've come to the wrong place. This show is the no bullshit real deal.
No bullshit real deal.
I'm Larry Harbolt, and they call me the real deal. Welcome to my show. This show is aimed at providing you with quality information so you can make more profit in the fastest way possible without making costly mistakes from the deals you do.
Let's get started.
Welcome, everyone. Today I want to talk about something I've mentioned several times before, but I think it's critical to the way most people are thinking about the financing they get on the properties that they're buying. I talk a lot about seller financing. Seller financing is a very, very important tool you need in your toolbox. One of the things I teach is never be technique driven. What do I mean by that? You don't want to be just a wholesaler. You don't want to be just someone that fixes and sells retail. You don't want to just be someone that whatever you are looking to do, subject to, lease options. Don't be technique driven. You need to be diversified. That's what I teach. That is why in my 4-day seller financing bootcamp, we go over all different methods of types of property to buy and ways to make offers on those properties. Because if you're technique driven, what you're doing is you are missing most of the deals out there because only the ones that fit into your little cubicle you're willing to do because that's all you know. You got to be diversified. It's not that hard. It's just every different type of deal has a different strategy, a different way of running the numbers, a different way of putting the deal together. But why is seller financing so important? And that's what I want to talk about today, especially seller financing if you can get it with zero interest. Critical. Interest is something we all have to pay, but it's something I think we should keep at a bare minimum if possible, because too many people are payment driven. They don't care how much they're borrowing. It's the payment that matters to them, even though in the beginning of every loan, 95% of every payment is interest. So, if you want to do yourself a favor, look up online. It's called the Rule of 78, not the Rule of 72. That's how long it's going to take to double your money. Rule of 78 explains how the periods in a mortgage, how they pay off differently, which means in the first half of, let's say, a 30-year loan, most of the interest is paid in the first half, a little bit of principal. The last half, it's more principal and less interest. So you're paying a lot up front. And to me, that's a lot of wasted money if you're paying too much. So what I want to talk about today is, when you rely on institutional financing, you're at the mercy of the economic climate that the country's in at that time when you got the loan. I don't care if it's today, 5 years from now, or 5 years ago, whatever the climate, the economic climate, whatever the rates were at that time, that's what you are paying. And this is something you need to pay close attention to because I feel it steals your profit. It's stealing your wealth. Sometimes necessarily not a good idea. Why would you want to pay more interest than you have to? Now, like I said, you're going to pay some, but you don't have to pay any more than you need to if you're smart about doing it. So by realizing how interest steals your wealth, I hope that you're cognizant of the fact how the interest you pay, especially the more interest you pay, could be money you could use to buy more property instead of paying exorbitant amounts to the lender who isn't passing those profits on to the depositors whose money they use. You do realize banks don't just have money of their own. I hope everybody realizes. Banks have depositors. They have people who put money into a bank account. That's the money that they lend out. But here's the problem. Today, I just a few weeks ago saw an article in USA Today that showed that the average 5-year CD at $100,000 minimum deposit was 1.27% interest. Most passbook savings that I can find are paying one quarter of 1% interest. So what they're doing is they're borrowing money from the depositors at 0.25% interest. And then they're lending it out at 4, 5, or 6% interest. So what they're doing is the bank is profiting 3.75% to 4.75% of that every payment is going into their coffers, and very little is going back to the depositor. See, that is, to me, that's not good. Those depositors need more money. Now, the problem is when they start charging more interest to borrowers, that creates a real problem. The less interest that you can negotiate, the more money you're going to save. I'm going to tell you right now, this is critical. You need to understand this. You see, as interest rates go up, monthly payments go up because you got to pay more because of the interest factor in it. So when monthly payments go up, fewer people can get a loan. That makes sense. You know, some people can only qualify for so much. And like I've talked about before many times, today people are not as much price driven as they are payment driven because they've got limited funds to make those payments. Now, most lenders, between 30 and 40% of their income is what they allow them for their housing needs or to make a mortgage payment with. So, you know, if they make $1,000 a month and they are allowed $300, their mortgage is going to be less. But when the interest rate goes up, they may price themselves right out of being able to borrow on what they're trying to buy because percentage of the mortgage payment is going to be higher because of the interest. That's important, especially when you go to sell a property. See, if I go to sell a property, I can give a buyer a lower interest rate, but to make my profit, instead of doing it for 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, I might extend it out to 40 years. That way they pay longer, even though I drop the interest rate, I will still end up getting a lot more. Because the average is most people refinance in 7 years. So even if I give you 40 years to pay it all back and you refinance, I'm still going to get the amount that I sold you the property for, which probably might be a little bit higher because I'm giving you a lower interest rate. So you create these deals. You're going to win. Just going to take a little bit of time. Now, the lining in this silver cloud that I'm talking about, as interest rates go up, fewer people can qualify for loans. That means more people are forced to rent. This is a bonus to us landlords because those of us that have income properties, as interest rates go up, we're going to make more money because more people are going to want to rent because they can't qualify for these loans. I did a little research. This is based on a $100,000 loan and over 30-year payback. If it went full term, I just wanted to show you the difference in the amount of interest that you would pay on that. So let's say you paid 3% for 30 years on $100,000. You'd have a $422 payment. You're going to have a total payback of almost $152,000. $52,000 over that 30 years is going to be interest, not the price you paid for the house. It's the price of the house plus the interest. If you borrowed at 4%, you got a $477 payment. You're going to pay back $172,000 total. $72,000 of that is interest. Money that doesn't help you in any way buy more property. 5%, you've got a $536 payment. You're going to end up paying back over 30 years $194,000, of which $94,000 is interest in round numbers. 6%, you got a $600 a month payment. You're going to pay back $215,000, almost $216,000 over 30 years. $116,000 of that is interest. 7% loan, you got a $665 loan per month, your payment. You're going to pay back $239,500. $139,500 is interest. Can you see where this is money that you have to put out, even though the tenants are paying it, but it's money you cannot use to buy more property? That's what I'm trying to get across to you. If you can buy property with no interest, look at what you can save, because every month you make a payment. If you have zero interest, 100% of the payment comes off the balance. Now, I just wanted to go a little bit further. 3% loan over 30 years. I just wanted to do an average, not from the rule of 78, but just a monthly average, what your interest cost is. On 3% 30 year, you're paying about $144 a month average over 30 years per month in interest. 4%, 30 years, you're on average paying $200 a month for interest out of every payment. 5%, 30 years, you're paying $260 a month in interest. 6%, you're paying $322 on average per month for interest. 7%, $390 a month on average for 30 years. You see, that to me is a big waste, especially if I can negotiate a deal. So let me ask you a question. You have a property that you're trying to buy. They want $150,000. I'm just going to use that as a number. They don't want to do seller financing. They only want cash. What? Because this has to be a property you're going to keep as an income property, a rental property. Long term, not short term, long term. They want $150,000. What if you agreed to pay $180,000 for the property with no interest and give them a payment that would allow you to cash flow every month? Now you just paid $30,000 more than it'll appraise for. Was that smart? Well, if it's at no interest, you've only paid $30,000 more, where if you would have paid 4% interest, you would have paid another $43,000 in interest. You don't want to do that. That's why I'm telling you this. You've got to think about what that is costing you every month. Even though the tenants are giving you the money, that is money you can't use to go out and buy more real estate because it's going to your lenders. Very, very important. So understand the interest is a killer. It's a profit killer. And I don't want to see that. I want to pay, if I have to, especially if it's a free and clear property, I'll pay more than it's worth, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 if they'll take no interest. They're getting more money. I'm saving a ton on interest payments because 100% of my payment when I have no interest is going to pay off the base principal loan amount. That's very, very important. I wanted to go over that because I know I've talked about it before. I know I beat it to death, and I don't care. I'm trying to burn this into your brain. The more you waste on interest, even though sometimes we have to, but the more you pay in interest, the less you've got to buy more property to enhance your profit, your wealth, and your family. So I thought that was important. I wanted to go over it again. Sorry if you think I'm preaching. I don't really care. It's very, very important that you think about this when you're putting a deal together. So that's going to about wrap up this episode of my podcast for this week. Hope you found some value in today's topic, and I invite you to head over to LarryHarbolt.com and register to keep up to date with my tips and ideas, my articles to help you become a better real estate investor. That is important to me. If you're not already registered, head over to LarryHarbolt.com/register to get access to my free phone script on how to negotiate with sellers over the phone. Be sure to tell a friend and leave me a review on your podcast player. That is very, very important to me. The reason I say that is your review helps me to know that the information I'm providing to you is valuable. You can let me know what it is you want, what you need. So, hope you have a great week. I'll see you next time on the Real Deal Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Real Deal Podcast with Larry Harbolt. To learn more about investing in real estate, head on over to LarryHarbolt.com and register for his educational tips and articles delivered by email.